Here we have the rear hub, the drive hub of the tricycle. It's unusual in the sense that one axle is driven rigidly, but the other one is free to rotate in the hub. So you're actually driving only one wheel, and the hub actually is part of the band brake for the rear of the vehicle. So we start off with a 90mm round bar. This has been drilled and reamed to match the fixed axle, and then counterbored to receive a bush on the other side for the floating axle. The band brake has been, the groove for the band brake has been machined in the middle in line with the frame, and what you see here now is me putting a bit of shape onto this big lump of 90mm bar. Try and make it look as if it's meant to be there. The other side I've machined down to a, what would you call it, a Victorian style shape, and this side now I'm going to match, but I can't go all the way because I don't know what chain's going on this thing yet. The owner knows where the original chain and sprockets are, but hasn't got access to them at the moment, so I can only go so far with the machining till I see what he brings to me, or if even he can bring me the whole thing. It might end up that I have to make my own sprockets and such. But anyway, at the moment here you can see me facing off the bar to tidy things up, shall we say. Of course, this is all necessary because the original hub is completely missing, didn't come with the bike at all. This is just my best guess, given the bits that I have around me and looking at the internet for other types of vehicle of that period. So a lot of this tricycle will be my best guess. Try and keep in the style and the visual appearance of the Victorian era. Also, some of the methods I shall use will be chosen instead of modern techniques to try and again create that visual experience. Here I'm roughing out the curve, again just putting shape into this thing so that it doesn't look as heavy as it really is. Give it a bit of style, I suppose would be the way to put it. All the curves on this will be finished by hand using an old technique called graving, and basically it's the same as the old woodworking method of turning wood in a lathe with a chisel, but of course instead of a chisel you use a hand tool with a lathe tip in it. As I say, this was one of the very early techniques of metalworking in a lathe, watchmaking, clockmaking and the like, and would have been readily used in the period this bike was built. Better than a round lump in the middle of the axle. I now shall make a bush for the freewheeling side of the axle, made out of bronze. Simple, straightforward turning job. Turn it to a push fit in the hub and a running fit for the axle on the internal bore. The internal bore had to match the existing axle diameter, which was ever so slightly under 7/8, but enough that a 7/8 reamer might have been a bit too loose. Although, again, who knows what the original clearances were. So best to go with what I would consider a nice clearance, and if it's too tight I can always open it up again later. As you can see, working to the original rather than to a dimension. Some of these parts have to be made till they feel right rather than measuring. Here I'm just comparing the original to a 7/8 reamer. It was at this point I realised better to bore it with a boring bar. Just too much of a rattle. And then once happy enough with what I've created, part it off from the bar stock and get it ready for fitting to the hub. A simple parting off job. Taking the sharp corners off while it's in the lathe. A little wipe with a file. A lot of people don't like that sort of thing, but there was a time when that was taken as a standard practice. I know health and safety say it's dangerous, but if you have respect for the machines, total respect for the machines, and know what way they can hurt you, then the risk goes down quite considerably. Little bit of Loctite on the bush. And a final tap into position. And an internal bore, just the sharp corners taken off it, and there we have it, a nice fit. The other side, just about spot on. Now of course the drive shaft has to lock in the hub, so there is a keyway to be broached on one side for the fixed drive, shall we call it. Simple pace, putting it in a press and broaching out the keyway, 1/4 of an inch. Now of course we need a grub screw to lock the key and the shaft into position, although it is held on bearings in the frame, so the side load on the hub is minimal. This is just to push the keyway and the key rather into the axle, because the amount of keyway cut is not very deep in the axle. So just in case it's got a tendency to lift the key out of the axle, a little grub screw to push down on and hold everything in place. It's more or less a safety feature. And then of course you cut the thread. On the other side you need a grease nipple for the freewheeling side of the axle. That can be greased every now and then so that the bush doesn't wear out too fast. And here you can see me fitting in a grease nipple. I'm putting in a modern grease nipple. I don't know what they would have used in Victorian times, maybe an oil cap, and a little reservoir for oil, but I think this will do for now. I don't think anybody will complain. And there we have the keyway lined up for the fixed drive, and of course the unmachined part here is where the sprocket will go once I know what's available. And there's the whole axle all together, ready to fit for the next stage. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.